Welcome to North Penn Television. I'm your chef, Cynthia Wood, and this is Meals You Can Make. Lots of people today like to watch all the various cooking programs that are on television now with their celebrity chef hosts. I know that I do, but a lot of people feel a little intimidated either by time constraints or by skill from trying some of those more elaborate recipes. So we've decided here that we're going to give our viewers the opportunity to expand their cooking repertoire by learning some simple recipes that will appeal to the entire family and won't have you in the kitchen for hours. I recently made this particular recipe with some preschool friends of mine and their teacher Vicki, and they all loved it. And children, I have found, will try more things if they feel that they've had a part in making the food. So what we're going to do today is a variation on a pasta primavera, and our ingredients we have here: 1 small to medium diced onion. We have 2 green peppers that have been chopped, not too small. We have 2 carrots that have been diced a little smaller because they take a little longer to cook. We have 1 12-ounce package of mushrooms that I washed and sliced. I prefer washing them. They say you should just kind of wipe them off, but we all know what they're grown in, so I prefer to wash them. And then for our topping, we have a little bit of shredded Parmesan. So I'm going to explain a little bit to you about how to do those vegetables. You want to peel your carrot first, and then if you take it and slice it this way, you are able to make carrot sticks. And then from that, you would take your sticks and dice them up. And you want to make sure you keep your fingers out of the way. I don't do this movement that a lot of chefs use because I like to see my fingertips to make sure they aren't already cut off. So I hold them back at the end of the carrot sticks, and that's how you're going to get a nice small cube of carrot. Then for your green pepper, see how you have your membrane in here and the little part at the bottom? You don't really want that, but if you're in a hurry, it's not going to hurt you if you leave it in there. So what we're going to do is just kind of cut that away. If you compost, you can take it outside and throw it in your pile, and if not, I don't know, feed it to the birds maybe. So then you would just kind of slice this into strips. I'll just put that one over there. And then you'll do the same thing, although these you can use a larger chop. They call it a rough chop, and it's not quite as small. You have some bigger pieces of the green pepper. Then when you're looking for your mushrooms, try to find mushrooms that have absolutely no gap from the stem to the base of the mushroom. That will show you that they're very, very fresh. If they've started to pull away from the stem, then they've been on the shelf a little too long. This is another thing that's not really, it's great time-wise, but it's a little wasteful. I just pop the whole stem out. Kids can help with this, and they love to do it if you show them that they can just push against it with their thumb. Now, if you kept the stem, you'd have to cut off that dried end. So other than that, you can save them and maybe use them later for a soup or something. And then, this has a couple little dry spots, you just want to slice it so that they're thin but not overly thin. So that's our mushroom. Now my water is boiling for the pasta already, and we're going to turn the other burner on. Now a lot of people that I've shown this recipe to will say that, oh, it's too much butter. But in my opinion, using butter is better than using margarine. It does burn more quickly than margarine, but it has a better flavor. And margarine is full of chemicals and preservatives, and if you're going to have it, you might as well have the good, real stuff. And that's what I prefer. So I'm going to use, believe it or not, a whole stick of butter. The amount of food that we're making today would feed at least 4 people, perhaps 2 people if you're big eaters, 4 people. And you could always stretch this recipe. Instead of just making it vegetarian, if you had some leftover chicken, you could chop that up and toss that in with your vegetables. If you had a ham, piece of ham slice, you could dice that up and throw it in. Perhaps some nice shrimp you could throw in at the end. It really is very versatile using this type of a recipe. So we're going to melt that butter a little bit. I'm just going to grab a spoon, break it up. And then the first thing we're going to do is bring it to a temperature where when we throw the onion in, we will hear it. Because what that's going to do is it's going to release the taste, the essence of the onion into the pan. And that's what we want, because that's what's going to help to flavor our pasta. So the butter's melting. Here we go. And a good way to test this, instead of throwing all of it in and finding out that it's not hot enough yet, if you just take a couple pieces, once they start to sizzle around the edge, then you know it's getting close to being ready. You should be able to hear this when it hits that. Although with our water boiling away, we may not be able to hear that. So I'm just going to do that. And here we go. Maybe a little hotter. Turn our heat up a little bit. And like I said, this should bring out the flavor more. So we're going to put those in first. And if your family isn't wild about onion, the better thing to do rather than dice it small would be just to slice it into rings. That way you can throw it in with the butter, it will release the flavor, and then you can pick them out because they'd be a lot easier to find because they'll be larger rather than dicing them small like this. So it won't be the kind of thing where people bite in and go, I don't like onion. So now we have this sauteing. I am going to put a little bit of salt, actually more than a little bit. But pasta water should be salted because there's nothing worse than pasta with no salt in it. And I know a lot of people have salt restrictions. You can use a light salt in your water, but it really needs to have salt in it or else it's like chewing on nothing. Okay, so we have our onion going. We're going to put our carrots in next because they take a little bit longer of all the vegetables. We're going to put the mushrooms in last because they release their own liquid when they begin to cook. So that's going to help give us some of this broth that's going to go over our pasta. Now, as your temperature of your pan rises and your butter starts to cook away, you have a little bit more. This is about another half a stick of butter in here. So you can add this as you go. And this dish really should only take about 20 minutes. Of course, for me, it may be a little faster since I got a head start on my vegetables, which you could always do too. The night before, if you have time and you want to chop them up, mushrooms will brown a little bit if they sit overnight in the refrigerator, but they'll stay fresher longer if you store them in a brown paper bag and not in the plastic containers that they come in. They seem to hold better in paper. Okay, so we have that in there. Now we're going to toss our peppers in. And I am going to put some more butter. Stir that around. And now I'm going to put some freshly ground pepper. If it's too peppery for you, then you're welcome to use the regular ground pepper. That works just as well. It looks like a lot's going in, but it's really not a lot. And then it's easier if you use salt in your hand because you can judge better. And if you pour salt into your hand, if it fits right into the hollow of your palm, that measures out to almost an exact teaspoonful. So if you don't have your measuring spoons handy, that's one shortcut that's very helpful. Okay, now we have some salt and pepper in there. Smells really good. We're going to throw our mushrooms in now. And like I said, these will release some liquid into this. Now, if you really have a problem with using that much butter, you could use a light olive oil to start your onions in. But you're going to have to add a little bit of butter so that you have enough to coat your pasta. And you don't want it swimming in it, you just need it to be wet. People think, well, my opinion is you don't need a lot of sauce on any kind of pasta. So you don't really want it to swim, you just want it to have the flavor. I'm going to stir this up. And then while we wait for this to cook down a little bit, we're going to take a little break and we'll be right back.
I hang out with a pretty trashy circle. The circle that helps this circle by recycling trash. We sort glass, plastic, separate cans, stack newspapers and magazines. Now, thanks to us, there are lots of products made from things we've already recycled. This cereal box wants your Sunday paper. These paper clips, in a more daring life, a 56 convertible. The circle works like this. It starts when we recycle trash at home and at work. It's completed when we buy products made from or packaged in recycled materials. How do you know the difference? Check the label for something called post-consumer recycled content. It looks like this. Make a mental note. Then buy the highest percentage of it you can find. You'll save a tree, you'll save energy, and in your own way, you'll help save the world. Complete the circle.
Call 1-800-CALL-EDF for your free Buy Recycled shopping guide. 1-800-CALL-EDF.
The crayon box that talked. While walking in a toy store the day before today, I overheard a crayon box with many things to say. I don't like red, said Yellow, and Green said, nor do I. And no one here likes orange, but no one knows just why. We are a box of crayons that doesn't get along, said Blue to all the others. Something here is wrong. Well, I bought that box of crayons and took it home with me and laid out all the colors so the crayons could all see. They watched me as I colored, with red and blue and green and black and white and orange and every color in between. They watched as green became the grass and blue became the sky. The yellow sun was shining bright on white clouds drifting by. Colors changing as they touched, becoming something new. They watched me as I colored. They watched till I was through. And when I'd finally finished, I began to walk away. And as I did, the crayon box had something more to say. I do like red, said Yellow, and Green said, so do I. And Blue, you are terrific, so high up in the sky. We are a box of crayons, each one of us unique. But when we get together, the picture is complete.
Tommy wants to design bridges when he grows up. Maybe he'll design one that you'll use. Now, would you like this free booklet of simple ways you can help improve his education? Call 1-800-96-PROMISE.
Do you think you have the power to change the world?
I can shape the future, one child at a time.
I know I can make a difference in those children's lives, and I know I have.
Who knows where my influence may stop?
I teach.
I teach.
I teach.
Yes, they're teachers, but to the kids they reach, they're heroes.
I think I have the power to change the world. The influence is always there.
Do you have the power to wake up young minds, to be someone's hero, to change someone's life? Reach for that power. Teach. If you want to make an impact on our future, call 1-800-45-TEACH. Want to change the world?
I teach. I teach.
I teach. I teach.
I teach. I teach. Be a teacher. Be a hero.
Hi, welcome back. This is Meals You Can Make. If you're just joining us, we're in the middle of making a pasta primavera. We have our vegetables, which have been cooking for a little bit, and they are starting, don't do this at home, they are starting to get a little softer. They'll be more pliable. You don't want them mushy. I know a lot of people have a thing about crunchy vegetables, but vegetables are better the less amount of time that they cook. So we have our pasta on. I've turned the heat down under the vegetables. I have added a little bit more butter, and I'm going to add a tiny bit more. And like I said, if you really don't want to use a lot of butter, you can substitute margarine. It just won't taste as good. Now, the pasta that we're using today is called muffata, and it's a form of miniature lasagna. I just wanted to show you this. It's kind of cute. And it's really nice with this type of a topping because it is a flat pasta, and it will hold on to a lot of the topping. It's kind of important when you do a pasta dish if you match your sauce to the shape of your pasta so that you don't just pick up pasta and have no sauce on it. any kind of sauce, tomato sauce, vegetables. Okay, so that's coming right along. I'm going to use my same spoon, check my pasta. You can always throw it against the wall if you'd like. It is getting flexible, so it's getting just about ready. So now what we're going to do is a tad more. I have a very good cholesterol level, by the way, believe it or not. So don't be afraid of butter. Now, we're getting close to ready. Like I said, I've turned this heat down just to about low under the sauce. The pasta is just about done. Now, we are going to add a nice fresh tomato. If you have some left at the end of the summer, this is great. I don't like to cook them because they don't really need to be cooked. So what you want to do, this is called a tomato shark. If you can get these at any houseware store. It takes the core out very, very nicely. You just press down and spin it, and it comes right out. So that's a help. So I'm just going to rough chop this. If you want to, you can squeeze it a little bit to get the seeds out, some of the water, like that. It's up to you. Like I said, this can take only 20 minutes. So if you want it to take 20 minutes or less, don't worry about that. And if your family doesn't mind and you're not trying to impress anyone, it won't hurt to leave them in. So I'm just going to chop that up. You might notice, too, that my knife is a little smaller than a lot of the knives that you see people using on different programs or that perhaps you use at home. I prefer a knife that's closer to the size of my hand when I'm chopping things like this. Bread knives, of course, are longer. Boning knives for fish and things like that can be bigger, too. But you need to have a good knife, if nothing else. Like a lot of shows, you see all kinds of fancy cookware. That's not necessary, but a good knife is. It should feel comfortable in your hand. It should have a nice weight to the handle so that you feel good when you're chopping all your vegetables. Okay, so I think we are just about ready to go here. Our pasta looks done. You can always bite it and see if it's done. Tear it in half. It's good. So we're going to turn that off. I'm going to bring this over to the sink and drain it. Please make sure that you stay away from heat, too, while you're doing this. Don't put your face in the steam, because it'll burn you more than the hot water will. So we have that. I'm just going to let that drain for a minute. I'm going to turn the heat off here. And if it's just for a family dinner, you can take a nice big bowl, dump the pasta in, dump this right on top of it, but I think we'll plate it up for you to show you how it can look. Now I'm going to take my tomatoes, toss them in at the last minute, wipe up my mess, and here we go. So we will take a little bit of this nice steaming pasta, and you can drain your pasta and shock it, as they say, with ice water. It stops the cooking process if you feel that it's just on the edge of al dente. But for this, I'm not going to rinse it, because unless you have boiling water, it takes a lot of the heat away, and you don't want to do that. So there we go. And now I'm going to pull this over a little closer so that I can spoon this out for you. And here we go. We have our nice green peppers. We have our onion, our carrots, our mushrooms, and some nice end of the summer tomatoes. And like I said, if you wanted to make this a little more substantial, if people show up at the door that you weren't expecting, or if you have someone at home that won't eat it unless it has meat in it, you can add a cup or two of leftover chicken that you just chop up. You can throw it in towards the end right before the tomatoes. You could add ham chopped up, or you could add shrimp, which is my favorite. And there we have our pasta Primavera. We're going to take some nice shredded Parmesan cheese. If you don't have shredded at home, you can use the grated kind that comes in the green container. I really like this though, and you can really smell the cheese. And there you have it, pasta primavera. Enjoy. We're going to take a short break now, but stay tuned. We're going to come back and review the ingredients for our pasta primavera, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
People think because I don't talk about politics, I don't care about it. I let my vote talk for me.
I've seen my candidates win. I've seen them lose. I vote, I say my piece.
I listen to a lot of big mouths every day. You know what? My vote speaks louder.
I can't always speak my mind at work, right? But in the voting booth, I can say anything I want.
Listen, that's what my vote says. That's pretty satisfying.
On election day, vote for your candidate, vote for your country, but most of all, vote for yourself.
Be cool about fire safety.
Do you know how to escape from your home if there's a fire? You gotta have a plan. They didn't have a plan. But these people do. Grown-ups can make it, and firemen can help.
Okay, in case of a fire, you and your sister are to go out this door.
Or we can always go out that way. We have 2 exits, okay?
So make sure your family has an escape plan, whether you live in a house or a building.
You gotta have an escape plan, and you be a step ahead. Be cool about fire safety. If you don't want to get burned, be cool about fire safety. You got a lot to learn.
And remember, practice makes perfect. It could save your life and your family. So tell your parents, we gotta have a plan.
Be cool about fire safety.
I've had the same friends since I was a little kid. But this year, some of them started playing with these other kids. I guess there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's cool making new friends and all, but they weren't like us. They were, you know, different. And I heard my big brother saying some pretty bad stuff about people like them. But they seemed pretty cool, and we had a pretty good time. So, well, maybe my brother doesn't know everything.
Hey, Carlos, come on, we need you.
Don't be afraid.
Be afraid.
Why don't you come up here, Pumpkin?
What are you doing, Larry?
Well, Vince, I've asked my pumpkin to sit on my lap to prove a point.
And what is that, your Larryness?
Even if we fasten our safety belts, even if you hold on tight, even if you were watching the road...
Yeah?
In a crash, your pumpkin will be nothing but a squash.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Use child safety seats.
We love that little pumpkin to pieces.
Why would anybody give someone they don't know a gift? They do it because this gift saves lives. And the need for it is desperate. We need over 20,000 people to give this precious gift every day. Please give blood. There's a life to be saved right now. Call the American Red Cross at 1-800-GIVE-LIFE.
Welcome back. We're going to review our ingredients for our dish that we made today. We used 1 small to medium onion that was diced finely. We had 2 medium green peppers chopped, 1 12-ounce package of mushrooms that we washed and sliced, and we had 2 carrots that we diced finely. Then we threw in 1 nice summer tomato at the end. And as I said before, this should feed 2 to 4 people. If you add a few more peppers or a few more carrots, you can stretch it to 6 people, or if you have that leftover cup of chicken, you can always make it go for more people too. And then on top of it, we used our shredded Parmesan cheese, and that's really up to you how much you'd like to use. So we thank you for joining us today, and as I'm sure you can see, this is a meal you can make. Join us again next time.
Music is a way of learning, integrating all disciplines of education, creating a learning environment where children want to learn. Music is an important part of the classroom curriculum. Children experience history and world cultures as they listen to and perform music of other times and places.
What music means to me is to get a better education. Making the sounds of the music and playing the notes.
Education in the arts promotes higher level thinking skills by fostering creativity, imagination, self-discipline, teamwork, and self-esteem. Involvement in a music program leads to higher SAT scores.
The music program at North Penn has provided me with the skills I need to either pursue a career in music or even a hobby. I know that the North Penn music program will have provided me with the skills that I need to do so.
Music instills a sense of cultural identity and pride in our children. Music is the beat of education.